2013 was a pretty challenging year for the courts of the United States. In Washington, D.C., we finally saw the logjam around the nominations crisis begin to break, and so nominees began to move forward. And we saw some firsts in terms of some nominations for the bench, as well as some confirmations in terms of historic diversity gains for the federal bench. However, the courts at the federal level continue to suffer from a long-term funding crisis that the sequestration bill this past year has made dramatically worse. They've lost a lot of their money, a lot of access to justice programs being hurt, people's right to a day in court is being impacted. In the states, the news is also somewhat mixed. So we see, for example, in West Virginia, some good news where they took their public financing program and gave it some long-term support. And so we're going to see judges there who don't have to worry about dialing for dollars from people who appear before them in court. However, in North Carolina, we saw a similar program, which was very popular with the judges, get eliminated by the legislature with a stroke of a pen, and unfortunately, a decade of a good record of keeping judges away from their contributors has been wiped away rather quickly. In Kansas, we've seen quite a challenge. The governor there made a real effort to try to politicize the merit selection system, perhaps even do it away with it. Some of our polling and a lot of work by people on the ground helped stop him a year ago. However, we anticipate they'll be coming back for more. And finally, we know that with statistics that came out this year about the previous year's elections, that the money chase continues. And more money is being poured in by outside groups who want decisions out of the courts to go their way. 2014 is going to be another big year for the courts. In Washington, D.C., we're going to see what happens now that filibuster reform has been enacted in terms of the shape of the federal judiciary and what it does to the politics of judicial confirmations in Washington. And in the states, another big year, primarily because it's going to be an election year. And we'll have a couple dozen states holding Supreme Court races, many of them for the balance of their court as to which way it will tilt. That often attracts big money. And in fact, we're already seeing big money in North Carolina, and we're expecting other states to see their records smashed, as is becoming the norm in judicial election states. And in addition, we're expecting a renewal of the judicial selection wars. So we expect to see a number of efforts to go after merit selection systems, either to do away with them or to try to politicize them. And in Kansas, we're seeing that right now, efforts to go after that system. Finally, we're going to see a couple things coming down that will affect the rules of the game. So there's a major Supreme Court case, the McCutcheon case, that will affect how much money can go into politics, including judicial races. And in addition, there's a ruling that the IRS is being asked to make that could change the shape of how 501c4 organizations, which are some of the biggest spenders in politics, do their business.